Everything you do in the gym and when you work out is not going to count for a thing if you don't have the food to back it up. I always say food is the fuel that powers your physique. You can train as hard as you want, for as long as you want, and as consistently as you want, but if you're not eating the right food, it's not going to do a damn thing. And I know that sucks, especially when in movies you just see people do these long training montages, then they walk out looking absolutely jacked. Not really going to be the case. So if you want to build muscle and lose fat, you've got to get your food in order. But I know a lot of people aren't willing to go the full counting calories, calculating macros route because it seems like too much. If that's you, this video is for you. I'll be making more videos down the line for more precise, accurate calorie counting, macro calculators, that sort of thing. But this is going to be a fundamental guide on how to eat better to fuel your physique and get good results in the gym. So if you give me 5 or 10 minutes, you should be able to dial in your eating for the rest of your life and have the physique you want. Pretty good trade, I think. First thing you're gonna wanna focus on is prioritizing protein. Every meal of yours should have a large protein source. Protein is the building block for muscle, right? The more protein you eat, the more muscle growth you're able to facilitate. So when you have a meal like, what's a bad example? Macaroni cheese. The cheese has a bit of protein, but it's just a carb meal. That's doing very little for muscle growth. You always wanna have a nice bulky protein source. My favorite protein sources are gonna be chicken, eggs, the earlier version of a chicken, fish, beef, you know the ones that are best for you. Something like pork is quite a weak protein, purely because of the fact that it's often outpaced by the fat. So in pork, yeah, there'll be protein, but there'll usually be more fat than protein. So you wanna stick to those main ones I mentioned before. The second way to make sure your diet's in check is try and stick to whole, non-processed foods. A pretty safe bet as to whether something is actually healthy for your body or not is the list of ingredients. That's where you see that most of my meals are typically just a protein source, a carb source, and then some source of greens or vegetables. These are very simple, basic food groups. They've not been overly processed. They've not got a bunch of injected sugars and shit. When you start eating processed things, let's look at bags of chips, lollies, cereals. These highly processed foods, while they taste really good, often have a bunch of added chemicals you don't want. They often have a bunch of sneaky calories you don't want. It's very simple to eat healthy and live well if you mostly eat whole foods. Now, I'm not saying go crazy. Every now and then I'll eat a Krispy Kreme donut with 47 ingredients, but it's in moderation, right? That leads me on to point number 3. Go for consistency, not perfection. Too often people try and swap from their normal all over the place diet with like fast food, chips, all sorts, to a completely green, healthy diet 24/7. That transition is gonna be too dramatic. I always say victory is achieved through 1,000 small steps, not one giant leap. The giant leap is too hard for almost everyone. You have to be kind of psychopathic to make that change and actually stick to it. That's why I always recommend a diet that's more in line with what I do, which is about 90% healthy whole foods and then 10% treats. That way, if you feel like something sweet, you can reward yourself at the end of the day or the end of the week, and it's not gonna break the bank, right? You've done really well, you've accrued all these wins along the way, and then you have a little treat just to keep yourself on the path, as opposed to sticking completely healthy, making a mistake and having a treat, which you will if you're too strict, and then that throws your whole diet out the window. I'm not sure what these hand gestures are, but you know what I mean. I'm picturing a tornado of bad food entering my mouth, and I'm enjoying it. Meal timing is not super important, but I try and spread my meals evenly throughout the day. Try and spread your meals and your protein sources evenly throughout the day. Tip number 4 is making sure you're actually fueled for the workout. I mentioned at the start that food is the fuel that builds the workout, right? It fuels the workout. What do I mean when I say that? In order to have optimal performance and therefore optimal results in the gym, you need to be well fed and well hydrated going into that workout and then after that workout. Meal timing is not super important, but you'll notice a remarkable change in performance if you're fueled for the workout. If you've had a nice amount of carbs and water and protein before the gym, about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the gym, and then have some after the gym as well. This is just what I've done my entire lifting career, and it's turned out pretty well for me. When it comes to eating out, try and stick to our main principles here. We still want to prioritize protein. We still want to go for mostly whole foods, but eating out is a time where you can treat yourself a little bit if you want to. If you're someone who's quite busy and ends up eating out quite a lot, you've got to be a bit more strict with this. Like I go out for a lot of dinners and I can't really afford to have a dessert with every dinner because then I would be fat. And that's not what I want. Tip number 6 is a mindset tip. And it reverts back to the first thing I said. Food is fuel for your body. If you want a body that looks like it's peak performance, you're lean, you're ripped, you're muscular, you need to eat the fuel that leads to a physique like that. You can't expect to look like you're in really good shape, but you fuel your body with garbage. Inherently, we all know the foods that are good and the foods that are bad. We know that eating chicken, broccoli, and rice is gonna make us fucking jacked. but that's a little bit too extreme. We can spread that out and have more healthy, whole foods and get close to that physique. And I think that's what everyone really wants. So the next time you're struggling with cravings or you feel like the diet's not worth it, remind yourself what the diet's actually trying to accomplish. You're eating to fuel a muscular, impressive physique. And if that's something you value, then you've got to value it more than having treats all the time. If you struggle with treats and feel like you're giving into cravings all the time, I've got a few videos coming up dealing with cravings, because believe it or not, I deal with them too. I am human. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.